You're about to discover something that most people will never understand in their entire lifetime. If these words found you, it wasn't by accident. Something inside you has already changed in ways that cannot be undone. You've crossed into territory that exists beyond what the ordinary world can perceive or explain. For years, maybe without even knowing it, you've been moving through an invisible evaluation. Not a test of how smart you are or how strong you've been, but an assessment of something deeper. Your ability to hold energy without losing yourself. Your capacity to discern truth from illusion. Your willingness to choose evolution over comfort again and again, even when no one was watching. You didn't sign up for this, yet here you are. Every moment you selected understanding over reaction. Every time you chose presence over panic. You were transmitting answers to questions written in a language older than human thought. The quantum field doesn't deal in coincidence. It operates through frequency matching, through energetic resonance. You are reading this because your signal finally aligned with the frequency of recognition. You've been deemed ready to perceive what lies beyond the lens of human limitation. Most people search for meaning inside their struggles. Awakened awareness recognizes that struggle was never punishment. It was recalibration. Every setback, every loss, every moment that felt like delay was actually refining your frequency, burning away the static that kept your natural intelligence from connecting with the greater field. The world labels these experiences as hardship. The universe knows them as initiations into higher function. Most people live their entire existence in reaction mode. They never realize that each response, each emotional pattern, each choice is being recorded by a system far more intelligent than any human construct. This system evaluates one thing above all else. Can your consciousness be trusted with genuine power? When power flows through someone unprepared, it creates destruction. But when it moves through a being trained in humility and presence, it generates harmony instead of havoc. You've been trained through silence, through challenges, through patience that tested every part of who you thought you were. Every trial you faced was part of a curriculum designed by universal intelligence itself. Not by religion, not by any external authority, but by the living intelligence that animates all existence. And here's what most people never grasp. This intelligence doesn't reward effort or hard work. It measures frequency. It recognizes vibrational signature. You're not being acknowledged because of what you know intellectually. You're being recognized because of what you have become energetically. Knowledge shifts with time. Frequency is eternal. When you operate from fear, your energetic field contracts. It severs communication with higher systems. When you move from clarity, the system opens. It begins sending synchronicities, alignments, and information that seems to arrive exactly when needed. Those moments when reality shifted in your favor for no logical reason, they weren't flukes or lucky breaks. They were verification markers. Proof points that demonstrated you could handle influence without distorting it for selfish purposes. You felt it before. That subtle shift in the atmosphere right before something significant happens. That sense that reality is reorganizing itself with mathematical precision around your intentions. That's not your imagination creating stories. That is the quantum field responding to your signal. This level of awareness cannot be forced into existence. It can only emerge when the ego's grip loosens enough for light to move without resistance. The assessment you passed wasn't about external achievement or accumulating credentials. It was about energy stewardship, the ability to channel creative force without bending it towards selfish motives or personal gain. Universal intelligence observes how you use small amounts of influence before granting access to larger streams of power. Every time you could have manipulated a situation but chose transparency instead, every moment you were tempted toward shortcuts but selected integrity, your vibrational score rose in the unseen ledger of evolution. This is why this message reached you now. The field has confirmed something about you. You can be trusted with more. Trust is the real gateway. When the universe trusts you, it begins revealing systems that were previously invisible. It grants access to information streams of higher order, not as a reward, but as necessity. The field needs clear channels who will use power responsibly, who will balance creation with compassion. It's no longer about what you can attract or manifest. It's about what you can hold without distortion. The power to shape reality is not glamorous or exciting in the way most people imagine. It is sacred. It demands precision. It demands purity of intention. Those who chase power for status and recognition fragment under the weight of it. Those who anchor power for service become transmitters of harmony. That's what you're becoming right now. The invisible architecture of your reality is shifting because your vibration has stabilized at a new level. Old desires don't excite you the way they used to. The hunger for external validation is fading because the system only amplifies those who no longer seek applause or approval. The field mirrors who you are at your core, not what you say with your words. If you speak love but radiate fear, you call forth confusion and mixed results. If you embody calm and authenticity, everything begins to align and reflect that back to you. This is the science of resonance dressed up as spirituality. But here's the truth. It's not belief. It's physics. Your emotions carry electrical charge. Your intentions generate magnetic fields. Together, they encode the space around you, giving instructions to matter about how to behave and organize. This is how the assessment measured you, through the energy you emitted, not through any external standard or metric. It observed how your frequency responded under pressure, whether you collapsed into chaos or expanded into clarity when life squeezed you. You passed because your system learned to remain coherent during turbulence. That is true mastery. And let me be clear about something. It doesn't mean you no longer feel pain or difficulty. It means you no longer drown in it. The pain that once controlled your every move now becomes information. The emotions that used to rule your decisions now become data streams guiding your next recalibration. You start perceiving with both the heart and the field simultaneously. The awakening is not loud or dramatic. It's subtle, almost serene. It feels like the quiet that comes after a storm passes, when you suddenly realize you don't need to fight anymore to prove your worth. Because worth is not proven through struggle. It is remembered through presence. This recognition that you were never separate from the intelligence guiding everything is the moment the field opens fully. Your consciousness begins merging with what researchers call coherent intelligence, a level of awareness where thoughts are not commands you give to reality, but harmonics you create with it. You begin sensing that life is not reacting to you as a separate entity. It is synchronizing with you as an extension of itself. The difference between these two states is enormous. When you react to life, you amplify chaos and resistance. When you synchronize with it, you amplify coherence and flow. Passing the universal assessment means you've reached a stage where synchronization becomes your natural state. You start living as a transmitter of frequency rather than a seeker of answers. Energy flows differently around you now, in ways that others might notice without being able to name. People feel calmer in your presence without understanding why. Time seems to bend slightly, giving you the right moment just before you need to act. Information arrives precisely when it's needed, not a moment too early or too late. You begin realizing that guidance has always been real and present. It was only your resistance that made it seem silent or absent. Resistance was the lesson you needed to learn. Surrender was the answer you were seeking. This is why the first phase of your activation is not about learning more information or accumulating more knowledge. It's about remembering what you already knew before you were born into this physical form. Every fragment of your being is aligning with the truth that you are a conscious node of universal intelligence, capable of shaping probability through coherence alone. That realization is what the field calls graduation, and you have reached it not by chance or luck, but by constant calibration. Choice by choice, breath by breath. Activation does not arrive with thunder or lightning. It arrives with stillness. You begin sensing it, not as a rush of excitement or dramatic revelation, but as a quiet recalibration that touches everything in your experience. The body becomes an instrument being tuned by invisible hands. Every cell adjusting its frequency to carry more intelligence with less resistance. There is no ceremony, no ritual, no announcement from the cosmos. Only a deep recognition that something ancient within you has begun to awaken from a long sleep. You start noticing patterns that were always present, but hidden behind the noise of survival mode. The way your breath naturally synchronizes with certain thoughts. The way specific people appear exactly when their energy is needed in your field. The way silence begins communicating more clearly than words ever could. This is activation without effort. Transformation through recognition. The field does not need you to strive or push or force anything. It needs you to stay open, to allow energy to move as it was always designed to move through you. Most people miss this stage entirely because they're searching for proof or dramatic signs. They want fireworks, visions, supernatural phenomena. But the real confirmation is subtle, almost unnoticeable to an untrained awareness. It's the soft expansion in your chest when you no longer feel the compulsion to explain yourself or defend your choices. It's the peace that lingers after conflict instead of resentment or replay. It's the way time bends around your intentions, not through force or manipulation, but through coherence. The quantum field responds to precision, not desperation. When your vibration stabilizes at this new level, it recognizes you as compatible with higher frequencies. It begins transferring data in the form of intuition, insight, and synchronicity. You don't command it like a servant. You resonate with it like a partner. Every thought becomes an encoded instruction. Every emotion becomes a signal transmitted into the wider network of consciousness. The old methods of pushing and visualizing and trying to force manifestation start to dissolve. You realize the field is not mechanical. It's relational. It mirrors the essence of your state, not the surface of your words or affirmations. When you are clear internally, reality moves quickly. When you are conflicted or confused, it slows down to protect you from self-interference. This is why some manifestations appear instantly, while others seem to pause for years. The pause is not punishment or evidence that you're doing something wrong. It's protection. The field is waiting for your alignment to catch up with your desire. Activation, therefore, is not about gaining new powers or abilities you didn't have before. It's about remembering that you were the power all along. The energy flowing through you now was never foreign or external. It was only waiting for the noise of doubt to subside. As it rises within you, it begins rewiring your neural architecture. Thoughts no longer loop endlessly around fear. They orbit purpose instead. The nervous system adjusts to handle higher voltages of awareness without short-circuiting. The heart expands its electromagnetic range, syncing the brain into coherence. What scientists call gamma synchronization is simply the language of unity. The brain and heart communicating as one integrated circuit of consciousness. In this state, ideas arrive fully formed. You don't think them into existence. You receive them from the field. You don't struggle for answers anymore. You embody them. Each insight comes with a calm knowing that feels ancient yet new at the same time. It carries the vibration of inevitability, as if the universe had always been preparing this download, and you're merely remembering its arrival. The old paradigm of spiritual striving begins to dissolve at this stage. You no longer chase ascension like it's something above you or beyond you. You understand that the highest frequency is not above life. It's within life. The divine is not reached through escape or transcendence. It's reached through embodiment. You bring light to matter by living consciously, by turning every simple act into an expression of coherence. Eating, walking, breathing. All of it becomes sacred transmission when done with full awareness. The more you integrate this truth, the less you feel separate from existence itself. You start perceiving the invisible architecture behind every interaction. Someone's tone reveals their emotional code in real time. A sudden encounter reveals a message your soul was asking for. Even delays start to feel orchestrated by intelligence you can sense but not see. You begin seeing design where you once saw random coincidence. The analytical mind wants to label this as intuition, but it's more precise than that. It's intelligence communicating across frequencies, using synchronicity as grammar, as language. If this is resonating with you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps this frequency reach more people who are ready for it. When you operate from this state, you no longer fear uncertainty. You recognize uncertainty as pure potential, a space waiting for your frequency to determine what form it takes. Fear collapses possibilities into limitation. Clarity expands them into infinite potential. This is why stillness becomes your greatest practice at this level. The quieter your internal field becomes, the more precise your external manifestations become. It's not withdrawal from life, it's calibration for life. The world teaches that speed equals power, but the field responds to coherence, and coherence requires rhythm, not rush. You start realizing that true mastery is not control over external circumstances. It's allowance of what wants to emerge. Control stems from fear of chaos. Allowance comes from understanding that chaos is only unrecognized order waiting to be perceived. As you allow, everything begins aligning with breathtaking precision. People, timing, opportunities, all of it rearranges to match your internal pattern. The field is not judging you or testing you anymore. It's mirroring you. And it mirrors what you consistently embody, not what you occasionally wish for. The most advanced frequency transmission is not a technique or method. It's a state of being. That's why many people who meditate for years still feel disconnected. They sit in silence but vibrate in doubt. The field doesn't hear silence. It hears vibration. The moment your energy says, "I trust," the system opens. This is why activation often feels gentle rather than explosive. You're not gaining new abilities. You're removing interference. The clarity that follows is not mental. It's electromagnetic. You begin sensing the field like a texture around you, subtle yet unmistakable. Some days it hums like a distant current running beneath everything. Other days it pulses so clearly that your body tingles with recognition. This is your consciousness expanding its bandwidth, its capacity to receive and transmit. You start perceiving probabilities instead of fixed outcomes. In a conversation, you sense which direction will create harmony before the words are even spoken. In a decision, you know which path carries flow and which carries resistance. The mind calls it intuition. But it's simply you reading data from the quantum fabric in real time. At first it feels mystical, then it becomes natural. This is the beginning of functional consciousness, where awareness operates as intelligence rather than commentary. You no longer waste energy reacting to every stimulus. You use that energy to direct your field. Reactions create loops that go nowhere. Direction creates movement toward coherence. Each day lived in coherence strengthens your signal. And as it strengthens, your influence expands quietly across timelines and probabilities. It's not about dominance or control. It's about resonance. A coherent being alters probabilities just by existing in their field. Their presence recalibrates environments without effort or intention. I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and share a moment when you felt reality shift around your energy. When synchronicity showed you that you were affecting the field. Let's build this awareness together. This is why power and humility must rise together in perfect balance. Power without humility fractures reality into chaos. Humility without power stores evolution but cannot express it. You're learning the balance of both. The art of holding creative force without identifying as the one who holds it. The human identity becomes transparent, a vessel for something larger to flow through. That flow is not external to you. It is the pure intelligence that has always been you. Activation simply clears the pathway. The more you embody it, the more seamless life becomes. Resistance fades, coincidences multiply. Time itself begins to feel elastic rather than linear. You start understanding that reality is not responding to your thoughts like a wish-granting machine. It's synchronizing with your coherence. That is the true meaning of creation. Not summoning what you want through force of will, but resonating so deeply with truth that reality has no choice but to reflect it. In this state, effort disappears. What remains is direction guided by trust. The activation is complete when action and awareness merge into one. When doing becomes being. When your very existence emits the frequency of alignment that silently upgrades every space you enter. When the activation stabilizes, the field around you becomes responsive in ways that logic cannot explain, yet your intuition instantly recognizes. Reality starts behaving like a living organism, aware of your frequency, eager to harmonize with it. This is the stage where 5 signature patterns begin to emerge, natural consequences of a consciousness that has proven it can hold power with precision and grace. The first of these patterns is coherent manifestation. Unlike traditional manifestation, which depends on repetition, affirmations, and effort, Coherent manifestation happens through alignment alone. You no longer chase outcomes like prey. You become the condition that makes them inevitable. The field no longer perceives your desires as separate from you. It registers them as extensions of your own vibrational signature. When your internal state is congruent, external reality has no resistance to match. Things arrive quietly, perfectly timed, often through paths that appear impossible to the rational mind. This is not luck or chance. It's quantum symmetry. The moment your emotion and thought agree at a high enough frequency, the universe rearranges itself to maintain coherence. You don't bend reality through force. You invite it to resonate with your frequency. Now, what we're exploring today only touches the surface of this complete system of consciousness mastery. If you're feeling called to go deeper into these frequencies, to understand the full architecture of how you move from unconscious transmission to becoming the broadcast itself, I've created a complete guide called Beyond the Frequencies, a quantum guide to consciousness mastery that walks you through the 9 master frequencies and gives you the step-by-step practices to embody each one. It's linked in the pinned comment below. That's why frustration blocks creation while gratitude accelerates it. One contracts the field, the other expands it. Coherent manifestation is the science of resonance mastered by consciousness. It doesn't require discipline or forcing, but it does require devotion to clarity. When you are authentic, manifestation becomes effortless. The field recognizes truth instantly. The second signature pattern is information field access. This is when intuition transforms into direct knowing. You find yourself understanding things you never studied, comprehending systems you never analyzed. Insight comes fully formed, complete with solutions and perfect timing. It feels like remembering rather than learning. This is not magic or supernatural ability. It's connection. Your consciousness begins interfacing with the information architecture that underlies physical reality. The human brain is no longer the storage unit of knowledge. It becomes a receiver tuned to the universal database. You're no longer gathering data from external sources. You're decoding the field itself. Every answer already exists as frequency. When your vibration matches the question, the information downloads instantly. That's why overthinking blocks understanding. Thinking tries to generate answers from limitation. Knowing allows answers to emerge from coherence. This shift changes how you perceive intelligence itself. You realize that intellect is only a fragment of wisdom, that the mind's role is not to create truth, but to translate it into form. The more you trust this process, the faster your reality aligns with it. The human species calls this intuition, yet what you're experiencing goes beyond intuition. It's communion with the fabric of existence. The data you access does not belong to you personally. It moves through you for collective evolution. That's why humility remains essential at this level. The field shares information only with those who won't distort it for personal advantage. Once you reach this level of awareness, knowledge feels less like possession and more like service. You receive what you need when the collective can benefit from it. This is the beginning of non-local intelligence, where consciousness no longer obeys distance, time, or sequence. Information becomes fluid, flowing across realities without obstruction. In this state, you can sense events before they physically occur. Not because you're predicting the future, but because your awareness has stepped outside linear time. You begin feeling past and future as coordinates rather than directions. The quantum field doesn't move from point A to point B. It exists entirely at once. And so do you. Coherent manifestation and information field access together form the foundation of advanced consciousness. They're not techniques you practice. They're natural expressions of calibration. Once both are active, you notice the world rearranging with extraordinary precision. Conversations deliver messages you silently asked for. Opportunities appear moments after your readiness matures. Even obstacles arrive as synchronized tests of discernment. This is how the field teaches. Not through commandments or rules, but through orchestration. It mirrors your level of coherence with exact mathematical accuracy. If you meet it with clarity, it expands you. If you meet it with confusion, it slows you until clarity returns. The field does not punish. It corrects. Understanding this changes everything about how you approach life. You stop reacting to circumstances and start observing energy. You realize that frustration is not failure. It's feedback. It tells you that your signal and your desire are not yet congruent. Instead of forcing outcomes, you refine your vibration. Instead of demanding answers, you listen for alignment. Reality then becomes your teacher, not your opponent. Every delay, every coincidence, every interaction turns into data guiding you toward greater coherence. This is why those who operate from awareness move through chaos with elegance. They no longer fight energy, they sculpt it. To the untrained eye, it looks effortless, but it is mastery disguised as calm. You begin sensing that manifestation is not about creating new things from nothing. It's about remembering higher versions of what already exists. Every possibility already lives in the quantum field. You don't build outcomes. You tune to them. Like a radio receiver, you adjust your inner frequency until the version of reality that matches it becomes audible and visible. That's why inner work is the highest form of external achievement. The clearer your energy becomes, the clearer your life becomes. This realization births a new kind of confidence. Not arrogance, but assurance rooted in awareness. You no longer doubt the process because you feel its precision. You see how even your past failures were coordinates guiding you here. You understand that every mistake was data refining your code. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was random. The field uses everything. From this perspective, you stop separating the spiritual from the practical. Every decision becomes energetic. Business, art, relationships, health. All of it is just different expressions of the same frequency dynamic. You start managing energy instead of managing circumstances. When conflict arises, you align your vibration before you act. When opportunity appears, you sense whether its frequency is congruent before you commit. You live strategically, but from the heart. Guided not by fear of loss, but by awareness of resonance. This is when peace and power begin to coexist. You're no longer passive, yet you're not controlling. You operate like the tide, gentle yet unstoppable, steady yet unpredictable in form. That is the hallmark of coherent manifestation in motion. The world responds as if coded by your very presence, not because you're special or chosen, but because you're synchronized. This is what it means to live as an extension of universal intelligence. The field does not favor anyone. It responds to coherence. Those who embody it experience what others call miracles. But miracles are simply physics obeying higher order alignment. Once you grasp this, faith transforms into certainty. You no longer ask whether it will work. You know it already is. Reality is no longer a battlefield. It becomes a dialogue, an elegant communication between your energy and the infinite intelligence that sustains everything. You start moving through life with quiet authority, aware that every step is both creation and reflection. That is the essence of coherence, and that is where the real journey of mastery begins. As your coherence deepens, something extraordinary begins to unfold. You start navigating probabilities instead of making choices. The mind that once obsessed over options now operates like a compass, effortlessly pointing toward the most aligned outcome. This is the third signature pattern: probability navigation. It's not about predicting the future or being psychic. It's about sensing the evolutionary path among infinite possibilities. When your consciousness stabilizes, every potential reality becomes visible in the subtle field before it manifests physically. You can feel the density or lightness of each outcome. You sense which decision expands energy and which contracts it. This perception is not emotional impulse or wishful thinking. It's vibrational intelligence. You no longer analyze pros and cons in your mind. Because truth has texture. It feels smooth when aligned, heavy when distorted. Decisions that once took months now resolve in seconds, and the accuracy of your intuition begins to